In the 20th century, William Shatner took us off on a voyage into the universe to experience what life is like on other planets. But now, here in the 21st century, he is back to explore what life is like right here on our own planet. This is all part of a special series that we call Keeping America Strong. And as you know, part of Keeping America Strong is helping American businesses to lower the cost of managing data and to increase productivity without increasing staff. Our guest today does that and a lot more. His company delivers customized, integrated software solutions that manage information and help companies make timely, effective decisions. That's a very tall order, and we're about to find out just how this company goes about it. The company is called Data Connect. They're headquartered in Englewood, Colorado, right outside Denver. And our guest is the CEO of the company. His name is Tim Hobbs. Tim, welcome. Nice to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Tell me a little bit, in essence, I really do believe the name of your company kind of says it all, but what does Data Connect do?
Data Connect looks at increasing productivity in business. Usually through paper or procedures or information, we're able to speed up the processes they have to get that information to the right people for the right time.
And why is this necessary?
If you're a corporation in America, you have to compete hard to keep ahead of your competitors. You have to give products at a cheaper cost to your clients. You've got to keep your costs down. For a lot of people, they're buried in paperwork today, especially with the new information that's available to CEOs and CFOs and what needs to be reported to stockholders and other people. They need to get that information quickly, and they need to reduce the amount of paperwork that they have in their office. So we help them by scanning in that paperwork or hopefully eliminating the printing of the paperwork and just routing that through the office and making their whole process more efficient.
As I gather it, one of the big problems that so many companies these days have is having all this information, but they just can't find it. And they can't get what might be needed by someone on this side of the building over to someone on the other side of the building because it's lost in this maze of paperwork and stored in boxes. And who knows where it is. That's where you come in to help them out.
Yeah. For example, in an emergency room, that paperwork may need to be at 3 different places. It might need to be in medical records for people to access that patient's record. It needs to be, of course, with the doctor treating the patient. It also needs to go to a billing company so you can collect money for that. In today's stringent world, it's not easy to get those records from one place to another. Also, you need to make timely decisions, of course, in an emergency room. So with our products, we can have people still use paper if doctors need to write things on a chart, scan that in, and immediately have that accessible to people who need it, even if it needs to be at 3 places at once.
Yeah, I know there's a lot more to it than what you're because you say you scan it in. Well, you know, you could have a secretary scan it in. I could scan it in. But it's what happens after you scan it in that makes what you do so critically important. Obviously, or explain to me that you use different software programs, or is this a program that you create individually for specific companies?
What we'll do is we'll go into a company who has a need to be more efficient, and we look at what their processes are. Our people are highly trained, usually in that business, so our people would actually know a lot about the business that they're doing, as well as understand, work through the internet, work through the networks, what databases look like, how they connect. When we go into that business, we find out what software tools they're using already. Many times they have what they need right there. They just need to glue it together. We sometimes call ourselves a glue company to allow them to use whatever legacy software they have. So legacy meaning they've already got it in there. And we'll match it up against maybe some other tools that they need to mine that data faster or get that around. So usually the expense is not as much as a company would think it was if they just used their own software and we just made it a little more efficient.
So you then show them how to adapt it. But once it gets adapted, then what is it that you get them to do? I mean, is it like a very complex filing system? Is that what the end result is?
What we'll do is we'll look at what processes they're doing now and then where they want to get to. And many times a company just can't make that leap from a papered office to a paperless office. They've been trying to do that for years. What we'll do is we'll add one element at a time and allow them to evolve the process. Maybe in the beginning they're an accounts payable clerk and they're having to print out the PO and go to the file cabinet. Maybe they're having to get a receipt from that PO, or they're getting a receipt for merchandise. And by the time you look at the file, there's 15 staples in that file cabinet. Mm-hmm. We'll allow them to, instead of print the PO, have that electronic. Maybe their receipt for the merchandise received still comes in the paper. We'll scan that. And so then when they're looking it up, the system automatically marries it. So they haven't changed their processes a lot. They can just get those processes done much faster. Over time, then we might be able to get them to reduce paperwork. We might get them to have the company that's sending them the paper to send it electronically and do it all electronically and not create the paper in the first place.
I was just going to say, are you trying to, is the goal to get them to exist and work in a paperless environment?
Yes.
And is that advantageous?
That's a big goal, especially with Sarbanes-Oxley out now. If there's problems or perturbations in your process, you need to be able to answer that and be accountable to that to maybe your board or stockholders. We can take information that might come off your accounting system, attach the documents that would support those figures in a search so that whoever was investigating that could see that electronically instead of have somebody go through boxes and do research and information like that.
Let me just ask you some specific things that you do. Number one, let's take products and services. Data capture. That, in essence, means what?
Data capture might mean you have things handwritten on forms and you want somebody to read the handwriting on that form and put that in a database. It might mean just simply scanning in paper. You might want to do what they call OCR. You might want to read that paper and be able to search the information on that paper. Department of Engineering has closing down a lot of facilities like Rocky Flats where they need to have the public be able to search paperwork or supporting documents there. So we might capture it that way.
Process automation.
Process automation takes a manual process. You might have 10 steps that you do, like back to the accounts payable clerk, putting things in the file cabinet, stapling those together. Electronically, they might be doing one process at a time, whereas we can take and have the machines automatically do those redundant processes so they speed up time there.
And that would involve systems integration as well. You mentioned that.
Right.
And then the other point is, we haven't mentioned this, but you were heavily involved in trade shows.
Yes.
How does this work with trade shows?
Well, in trade shows today, the business climate's changing. In the old days, you would have all kinds of people from your company go to a trade show and just look at products. Today's trade shows, people want to do business and they want to do it quickly. The vendor wants to capture the client and the information and be able to do a business transaction in a fast way. So for us, we might put a database together with a touchscreen terminal at the station. If somebody wants to come and look at food for sampling and then purchase some cases, they can punch a button on the terminal and say, I want to order 10 of these. Maybe it's not a buying show. We do buying shows where they do millions of dollars of business. Maybe it's just an interest show. Maybe quickly somebody can look at what products are available to a client and see a video of it on the back end or something like that.
So when you come to the end result, what's the bottom line? How are you able to help your clients? What's the result for them?
The bottom line is we can increase efficiency without increasing cost, allow people faster access to information, automate processes, sometimes increase their revenues, like in a trade show. So we use technology to make a business much more efficient so that they can invest that capital in their growth.
And you do this for what kinds of clients? I mean, what are those?
Goodness. We do this for colleges. We do this for food companies. We do this for trucking companies, for hospitals, construction companies, anybody who has a lot of paper or a lot of processes that they want to reduce the amount of time on.
And it works.
And it works.
Very, very interesting indeed.